Well, it was definitely well acted. I'm Joe Rentham with my review of the Netflix original movie, His House. So you have a couple, Bol and Rial, who escaped war-torn South Sudan and are trying to make a better life in an English suburb. They just want to succeed. They don't want to go back. Anytime you leave a bad situation, war-torn nation or not, you want to make sure that you don't go back. But their new house comes with some problems. There are bumps in the night, weird humming going on and everything. Could this be ghosts from their past? Could this be, an actual haunting? Who the fuck knows? You find out later, and I'll get into spoilers here in a little bit. But this is much more psychological than it is an actual haunting. And that's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. I will say that the actors playing Bol and Rial, the couple, they are fucking great and they got bright futures. I'm not going to try to pronounce their names because I'm just going to, if you look on IMDb, you'll see why. I would just screw the names up. I'd butcher them completely. But they're pretty damn good in this movie. Now, everybody else is kind of just a bit part character. And we do get some flashbacks and we find out more about the story about how they escaped this area and what events led up to them. While being a loving couple, also being fractured. One wants to do one thing, one wants to do another. They lost their daughter. The wife is obviously in mourning. And the husband is like, we've mourned, we need to move on from this. And also there's this backstory about, that your actions have consequences, like an old urban legend, so to speak, a story of of a creature called an apeth, and it's told in Sudanese lore. Apparently, I'm not really familiar with that, but actions having consequences is the core issue of this. Now, I will say that this movie is by no means perfect, and it's not necessarily great, but it's elevated because of the acting of the main two people. Had they not been as good, or had their characters not been fleshed out, this movie would have gotten a way lower grade than it's going to end up getting. Now, it's by no means the best movie I've seen, but as far as Netflix originals, it's a good, easy to watch psychological movie that may be obvious, but it adds enough layers and enough stuff where, okay, I can actually see this shit happening. I mean, yes, there's the fanciful stuff and the bumps in the night and seeing the ghosts and all that stuff. Maybe it's not necessarily, completely plausible, but the way they lay it out, it sort of ends up being that, while also being, a movie that can be pretty entertaining. And at times, holy shit, there's some, weird, goofy stuff that's going on. And some weird, creepy stuff that's going on. Because yes, it gets goofy towards the end. But the core thing of the couple being, a loving couple that need to come to grips with their past is really what elevates this above not only a lot of Netflix original movies, but just a lot of movies that would have this kind of story. And the fact that, you have these people that came from a different nation and they're just trying to make things work. You obviously do have some racism that's sprinkled throughout the movie, especially when they interact with some of the town folks, as you would expect. But this really does have a good feel to it. It kind of reminds me of what they tried to make Vivarium be, except Vivarium was absolute shit. Now that one was just much more psychological and complete bullshit. You can check out my review of that if you would like. But His House has a good grounded feel to it, even with the fanciful stuff with the ghosts and stuff like that. So obviously I would recommend this. Not perfect, but the acting does elevate it. Now I'm going to get into spoilers here in a little bit, because of course there's going to be stuff I'm not going to reveal here. So 3, 2, 1, and go. Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. If you're still here, sorry, spoilers. So they escape war-torn Sudan and they lose their daughter. And they lose their daughter when the boat capsizes. Well, it turns out that, there's this story about this apeth, which is a witch doctor, or a night witch, so to speak. And this night witch is haunting them. And this could be a metaphor for the fact that both need to come to grips with their past, especially Bol, because it turns out that their daughter wasn't actually their daughter. He stole her from the mother to escape before, everybody got shot and burned and stuff like that. He did what he had to protect his wife and himself. Now, I can understand that. But obviously, his actions have consequences, and the ghosts of the past will haunt him. People he did not protect. People that he put, or putting his wife ahead of all these people. So yes, unfortunately, he had to come to grips with that stuff. And there's a lot of house repair stuff, and he's kind of going nuts, and the wife's going nuts. We need to go back. I need to be reunited with my daughter. She's mentally fractured because it actually isn't their daughter. And what basically ends up happening is the husband basically decides, fine, Bold decides, I will sacrifice myself. This creature will take me, and my wife will be safe. And so the creature starts to take her. He cuts his arm, it comes from out of the ground and everything, and does this, and it basically reaches into his arm. It's gonna take him over, and then the wife cuts the demon's head off, or the creature's head off. Apparently, you can just do that. That's kind of where the movie loses me a little bit. I mean, maybe it's just them, it's a metaphor for them overcoming their past and bonding together more, because the wife realized, well, that wasn't actually our daughter, even though I did love her, because, I was just so goddamn scared by what was going on. At least that's what she would be thinking. But in the end, they are happy as a couple, and they've moved on, and they've got their house. This is our home, and everything ends like that. And one quote, though, I will say, your ghosts follow you, they never leave. And that is true. That is actually something that's pretty damn true. So His House necessarily isn't a great movie, but well acted, and certainly a cut above a lot of other Netflix originals. So I will say a B-. The acting is what I was about to give it a D+, but the acting alone elevates it enough to where B-. Certainly could recommend it. Don't expect too much, though, since it boils down to basically just ghosts of the past coming back to haunt you. But anyway, agree, disagree, what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Retlin. I'll see you soon.